Hello and welcome to Southeast Ohio Sports Talk. We've got basketball on tap now. I'm Ben Spicer, joined by Kevin Cawley and Hunter Staggs, our special guest. And now it's time for basketball season, so we're going to do things a little bit differently now that Shooty Hoops is on the horizon. We're going to talk about girls basketball one week, and then the next week we'll rotate and talk about men's basketball. We'll fit swimming in there as well too at some point later in the season as well. So today we're going to start with girls basketball, and we're going to begin in the SOC 1. And Kevin, at the moment it looks like Notre Dame is the favorite. The Lady Titans are a very tough team. Just looking at their stats, I mean, a lot of girls getting it done. It's not just one or two girls. Obviously, they're led by Lexi Smith and Katie Detweiler. Lexi averaging 11.8 points per game, 8.3 rebounds a game. And Katie Detweiler, how about this stat line? 10 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, and 3.3 blocks per game. Molly Hoover also contributing with 7 assists. Do you think Notre Dame is the team to beat? They've got a nice little mix of experience and youth on that team.
I do. I think they're better than they were last year, and I think it starts with the guard play up top. You've got Taylor Schmidt, who to me has great, just from the one time that I saw her last year when I was hired here, and first assignment was to cover Notre Dame and Eastern Megs in the district finals. She's really greatly improved on her quickness, and Ava Hassel as a freshman has really stepped into the lineup and is a 10 to 12 point per game scorer. And you've got not only the speed and they play end to end and create problems, but then you have the size that Katie Detweiler and Lexi Smith bring into the post. They're not only 6'1", 6'4", but then they also are just good moving bodies at that height and are very active. It makes for a team that's really tough, and I think they have to be the favorite, Ben, because they've won it 3 years in a row, and they've not lost a conference game in the last 28 games. So I have to put them as the favorite. They're the team to beat until somebody dethrones them.
But it looks like right on the tracks are New Boston and Clay, so we'll go ahead and start with the Lady Tigers. I know you've seen them throughout the season. What do they bring to the table?
A lot of balance. New Boston is going to be a tough out for anybody. They already have a excellent quality win over Clay at Clay, where they pulled it out in overtime after being down 5 and came back. Got a bucket from Peyton Helpenstein with 43 seconds left to go in regulation to send it to overtime, and they took care of business from there. A lot of people will definitely be focusing on Allie Hamilton, a 16 and 10 caliber player. You've got Mariah Buckley and Kaylee Stone. All three of those girls are talented three-sport athletes, but then you add Peyton Helpenstein and Bree Humble into the mix. You have 5 or 6 girls on that roster who are 5'10" or taller. So it's a team that can really match up well with Notre Dame in the low post, but then they can move and really get out in transition. And they're the one team that I've seen so far that can match Notre Dame in the SOC 1 bucket for bucket out in transition. That's a style Notre Dame likes to play, but so does New Boston. Those games are going to be very high scoring and very fun. I would recommend the entire Sauter County community go out and watch those. Alexis Lawler is a great shooter from outside, and is somebody that shouldn't be slept on either, and she brings a lot of height to the table, being 5'10" herself. So they've got a lot of depth. They've got 10 girls on their varsity roster. All 10 of them can give good quality minutes.
You mentioned that game against the Lady Panthers. I really like what Stephanie Thomas has done there with Clay in her first year.
Yes.
I talked to her at Media Day, and she said the emphasis was defense. And that's really shown, I think, through the first couple of games. They've really bought into what she's trying to do, and that defense is tough. I mean, they'll challenge you full court, man-to-man, and they won't relent the whole game. It's really fun to watch. And, of course, they're led by Jensen Warnock. She's got a pretty good stat line herself, averaging a double-double, 15.2 points per game, 10.2 rebounds a game, 2.2 assists per game, and 4 blocks a game. Pretty solid. Reagan Osborne also contributing 10.8 points per game, 2.2 steals per game. Lauren Campbell, 8.2 points per game and 9 rebounds per game, also 3 steals per game as well. So they've got other capable scorers off the bench that I didn't mention, Sophia Balestra and girls like her that can contribute and come in and give them solid minutes as well. And they've bought into being a team as well, I think, and it starts on the defensive end. You see those girls with all those steals per game. I mean, that defense is tough.
Yeah. I really like what Skylar Artis does at the point guard position. She averaged over 4.5 steals per game last year, and she's a great distributor of the basketball. She already holds the single season school record for most assists in a contest with 12 and most assists in a season with 96. And that was her freshman year doing that. So she's going to be great at the top. We will attack. But like you said, it goes with how Jensen Warnock and Lauren Campbell produced down low. They scored, at one point they scored, I believe, 22 of Quay's 27 points in the second half. That allowed Quay to get the 5-point lead. They just weren't able to close the deal, but I agree. Stephanie Thomas has done a great job, and she's definitely a coach to watch going forward. The wife of Shawnee State head coach Dwayne Thomas, and both are great coaching minds and really good people.
Especially for this being her first year, I think she's really done good for what she has to offer for the Lady Panthers.
Yeah, certainly. Are there any other teams that sort of stand out in the SOC 1 in girls basketball to you guys that could compete, perhaps?
It looks like a rebuilding year for the remainder of the conference.
Yeah.
I really, personally, I'm going to go here and I'm going to say on here that Green, not while they are building now, will be a team to watch down the road. I really like what Kami Sweeney, the freshman at 5'10" already, is producing. She's already taken on the scoring load, has been the leading scorer pretty much every game for Green so far. They've got Charlie Blevins, who plays very hard, and got some great girls in that lineup that they'll give you everything they've got. And Melissa Knapp is, to me, really building a program that will be contending for second place in the SOC 1 as soon as 2 years from now. They've got a lot of talent coming up.
And I think East as well. I love Coach Bob Johnson.
Yes,
He's a great guy. I think if they can kind of mesh together, because they've got some younger girls as well, I think the future could be bright there if they can all start working together a little bit more.
Yeah, I read through Rick Wall for Bob Johnson. I mean, the guy is so nice. I don't see how you couldn't want to give him all you've got as a player. People at South Webster are really high on him, which is where he's from, but he's just a super nice guy in general to talk to and knows a lot about the game.
Switching up to the SOC 2 now, we've got a bunch of teams that seem like they're destined for the top, but
conference.
Kind of like Notre Dame, it seems like Memphis might be the favorite here, but South Webster's right on their tail, that's for sure. When you look at Memphis, though, they've got a great group of players, of course, Aaron Daniels, and beyond that, you've seen the Lady Falcons play. What do they have to offer, and what do they bring to the table?
Great guard play with Aaron Daniels, and then equally good low post play with a great combination of just pure size and ability to score in Ashley Blankenship, and then a straight hustler in Caitlin Puckett, who Scott Call is going on the record as saying she's meaner than a snake and tougher than a mule. My favorite line of this since I've been here. I love that. I chuckle every time I think about it. But he's got great pieces, and Marissa Reisner can shoot the ball really well from deep. Olivia Schonkweiler is one of the better freshmen that you'll see, only 5'4", but plays her guts out on both ends of the floor. Hannah Toll can really shoot it. They got a lot of great pieces that'll lead them to a deep tournament run in come February, maybe March.
We talk about those Jeeps. What do you think about the Lady Jeeps? Can they wind up winning the SOC?
Yeah. We'll know definitely more when the two play each other Monday on the 18th, how good one or the other is. They both beat Weaversburg by 7 exactly, so it tells you to me that they're dead even. Ellie Jo Johnson and Madison Cook have been outstanding. They put up all high numbers consistently throughout the course of the year. Rose Stevens is a girl that won't give you a whole lot of offense, but she adds offense as Christy Johnson puts it very well with the way she plays defense. She'll go down and guard at 5'3", 5'4", their best perimeter defender, and hold them down. And then they've got a lot of great pieces. The Montgomery twins, Carly and Kelsey Montgomery, Kinsey Hornicle, trying to think here, Adriana Blanton, and then can't forget about some more of the wiry scores that they've got. Bailey Cox is a great player who scored 20 points over the years, got a lot of potential with her size. Avery Zemter is a girl that reminds me of one of the former South Webster great basketball players in Cheyenne Weekly with her game, not only just the number that she wears. So South Webster and Memphis are neck and neck right now.
And I think you mentioned those Willersburg Lady Pirates and the 7-point losses. Man, they had the toughest opening schedule, I think, in the entire conference. Challenging themselves early with Memphis and South Webster, but they went on to blow out Waverly and Oak Hill. And I think in those games, of course, like many of the teams we've highlighted, they're a very young team as well. And I think they've kind of learned a lot, especially in those losses to Memphis and South Webster, that's kind of poised them for what they can be this season, and it's shown in the Waverly and Oak Hill games. And I think the girl that sets the tone for them, go figure, is Ellie Ruby. The way she plays, she's a senior, she's relentless, and her teammates really take after that because that's the type of style they want to play. And what better way than to have your senior leader exemplifying all those traits. I mean, they're a fast, up-tempo paced team, and then they've got plenty of great girls beyond Ellie, Abby Connor, Mallory Bergen, Leanne Spradlin, and Kaylee Darnell, just some names to take note of among others. But I think they're really learning fast. The learning curve is really coming to them quickly.
Yeah, they scored 85 points against Waverly. I mean, they could definitely play. And you mentioned so well, Ellie Ruby is a girl that will give you 300%. And then to me, as I've told her herself, I've said that she is a person that I don't see a person on the floor more going after a loose ball than Ellie Ruby does, because she gives you everything she's got, every sport she plays. It doesn't matter what it is. And Abby Counter is a great scorer, and Ellie Counter will be that soon. Mallory Bergen's a girl with great potential. And Kaylee Darnell has really come on strong as a freshman, scored 9 points in her very first varsity game. So it just says a lot about what Wheelersburg's doing reloading like this.
And the thing that kind of stood out to me, I saw the Oak Hill and Wheelersburg game. Wheelersburg's up by 25, and Ellie's still diving after loose balls. I mean, you've got to love that as a coach. I'm sure their coach really loves the effort that he's seeing from Ellie and the rest of the team so far, especially after the rough start to the year. But it really prepared them for the rest of the conference slate, I feel like. And when they rematch Memphis and South Webster, hey, look out, because this Wheelersburg team has potential. And
they could very well decide the conference. I mean, Wheelersburg won it last year. I mean, that they only lost by 7 on the road, so it could really very well be a 3-horse race.
They're definitely an all-effort team. They give it up. They put in their all during every game for all 4 quarters. They definitely do.
Yep.
No matter what they're playing.
Yep. Well, next up we've got Portsmouth West. Hunter, it's your time to shine. They're very young as well, but they're not very deep. I saw their game against Northwest. I think they only played 6 girls, but those 6 girls that played, really it was 5 because the 6th girl only played a couple minutes. Those 5 girls that played, I mean, the game went into overtime. It looked like they were conditioned. They could have played another 4 quarters. I mean, they're not deep, but the girls that do play are outstanding. Madison Compton, Morgan Rigsby, Jordan Swords, Michaela White, just a few of the names that stand out to me for Portsmouth West. I know you've seen some of the home games, so what have you seen from the Lady Senators?
They're definitely a really good team. Coach Clater has absolutely took that team. It's his 2nd year coach, and he's completely turned that team around into something really good. Yeah. He definitely knows his X's and O's, and at the beginning of the year, I knew they were going to be good, but I really didn't think they were going to be that good. They've really impressed me. I think they've done really good, and they definitely could go far in the season.
I'm sorry. Michaela White's just an excellent scorer, just an excellent player, and not only basketball but in softball too. And an all-state player already in softball. And Jordan Swords, as Hunter mentioned, we talked about before the show, just a spot-up shooter that can knock down threes. Morgan Rigsby's scrappy. Madison Compton's a great two-way player. Emily Sissel, as Coach Clare said, is the X factor for their team if they want to develop and get deeper. They do have a lot of talent. You can tell they've grown, and it's because of his coaching ability. Him and Roger Compton done a great job.
Jordan, she's one of those players that if she gets behind the 3-point line, she gets warmed up a little bit, but deep in the game, if you keep on giving her the ball, she'll get hot and she'll just.
She did that against Northwest in the game that I was at, and I think she might be one of the best shooters in the conference.
She is. She's definitely a shooter.
Speaking of those Lady Mohawks, though, they're young as well. It seems like the narrative for a lot of these teams, a lot of rebuilding going on, but they're tough. I mean, they take after Dave France, and they're going to fight you until the bitter end, and we saw that against Portsmouth West. They've got 2 great senior leaders on the team, two girls that I think really encapsulate what this team wants to become, and Abby Bear and Megan McClurg. And then they've got some great younger players behind them that have really stepped up and embraced their new roles as young players. Valerie Uri really impressed me. And she had 10 rebounds in the first half of that Portsmouth West game. Kyra Potts as well has really stepped up. And if they can come together as a team as well, I think that they could be tough, especially maybe not so much this year, but down the road once that younger core of players develops, I think they're going to be a tough out.
I think you're right. I think they have the potential to be the most improved team in the entire SOC, regardless of 1 or 2 next year with what they've got coming back. I mean, we know Abby Bear. Abby's a great leader, and Megan McClurg is a great producer. But the young talent that's already produced, I mean, I think Northwest will definitely vie for a top 4 spot in the conference next year, they keep that group together.
Yeah.
And they'll get their fair share of wins this year for sure. They've got a great team this year as well. Some other teams that kind of stand out in the conference, I think Valley's, they're going to get some wins, and they're going to improve on last year's record as well because they've got a young nucleus as well. But they've got some great players on that team also. And Waverly, I think, of course, they have some younger players as well, but that talent that they have, man.
Wow. Zoe Smith has been incredible this season. 29 points in game. I can't believe what she's doing. It's hard to tell what she'll do as a senior.
I didn't think that I didn't think she could top her performance on the soccer field, but she's really giving it a heck of a try.
She's up her game big time.
Yeah. She might be the best girls athlete to ever come out of school before it's said and done. She continues to put up ridiculous numbers.
That's awesome.
I mean, just double doubles, if not close to them, with 4 or 5 steals a contest. I mean, she really does it all for.
And she's a freshman.
And only a freshman.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. In Valley, you mentioned with Bree Call heading the guard spot and Hannah Conley there down low. That's a good 1-2 punch combination, and they're both still going to have a year. I know Hannah Conley still has another year left after this year. Bree has 2 years left after this year, so that's something you mentioned Valley can definitely build on, and Light Northwest can be very much improved going forward.
Well, before we finish the show, we'll take a look over at the OVC standings, where Chesapeake and Fairland are in gridlock right now at 3-0 in the conference. Ironton comes in at 3-1. Colgrove is 2-1. Gallia and South Point 1-2. Rock Hill rounding things out at 0-3, and Portsmouth 0-4. We've talked about the youth on all these teams. Portsmouth is another team that's very young as well, and I think they've got some wins on the horizon too. But they had a tough start to their year as well. They started things off with Ironton, and they played some really good teams early on in the year.
Yeah, Colgrove with Alexis Hall is a 1,000 point scorer, outstanding team, and then Fairland is ridiculously good. Their regional final, possibly OHSA state Final Four contender. Chesapeake beat Clay in double overtime, who they lost to on Monday, and gave them a good run. Ironton with Lexi Wise is very good. There's just a lot of talent in the OVC, and with a young team like Portsmouth, it's going to be tough to really find many wins on the schedule. Not because Portsmouth's not talented, just because the talent is so deep right now in the OVC, on not only the girls' side but the boys' side. If you're young, you're going to really struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Cream of the crop when it comes to the OVC, Fairland and Chesapeake. That's going to be interesting when those two meet up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think Fairland's still the favorite, and girls and boys.
Yeah. Fairland has girls, or Chesapeake, has girls. When I saw them against Clay, they can get out and run in transition, but they really struggled. Had a lot of scoring walls, and I just don't think they'll be satisfactory against Fairland, because Fairland can score in bunches. They got so many girls and so much height down the post. I don't think Chesapeake will come out with the victory on that. Fairland's the class of the OVC right now in both boys and girls basketball, really, until proven otherwise. Although Portsmouth's given it a heck of a try with how good they've looked on the boys' side, because they've been outstanding.
Well, we hope you guys will join us next week for the boys edition of Southeast Ohio Sports Talk. We're talking a little basketball. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. For Hunter Staggs and Kevin Colley, I'm Ben Spicer.